The Stand Manager tool, bringing it all together. Click on the Power Tools tab. The Stand Manager button takes you into the Stand Manager. We have a range of different scenario files, or we can create a new one. Within each scenario, we can define the data we are using. It can be user-defined, in which case we specify everything ourselves, or we can use input data from other tools in the toolbox to help provide some of the data that is required. As with the other tools, you should look at the extensive on-screen help to better understand all of the facilities of this tool. There is also a workbook example on the CD that you use to load the toolbox in the help folder. Let's consider the Uke high value option. We can select a species that we have a growth model for, and these are built into the toolbox. You must also select a log grade set from one of the ones that you have defined in the toolbox. Any of the blue buttons will take you to the editor for the respective data so that you can edit or create new information sets and then return directly to the Stand Manager. There is a default grade which is set automatically by the toolbox, but you can override that. You should see the help instructions to understand the significance of doing this. The net forest area is the area figure that your per hectare figures will be multiplied by to give you the total forest value. For our species that we selected, there are growth models. Some apply to different parts of Australia. Others use physiological rather than empirical growth models. And again, you should see the help for more explanation. You need to define the unmanaged peak MAI for the stand, and you do that by utilising the sliders which are linked to either nominate site index or mean dominant height at a set age. And you should select a regime, again from the list of regimes that are defined. There is an optional blue comments field. And if we click on the Run and Show button at the bottom of the screen, the model runs the regime with all the events using the growth models and the log grade set to produce an output. The net present value and internal rate of return are provided, but there is also extensive additional data on the stand and also on the products. Let's have a quick look at some of this information. We can also have a look at our information on a per hectare or a net forest area basis, and on the graphs that we see we can nominate different time limits, and we can also turn on and off different outputs in our graphical representations. We can right click on any of the 6 windows here to print the graphs, or in the case of tables, if we right click on the table we can export it to Excel. If we double click on the table, it expands up and we can in fact increase the size of that window. We can move around in the window, and we can right click in the window and export the data to Excel. On the Products tab, we can actually look at information either volume or a value basis, and again if we double click we can see the value of the veneer, knotty sawlog, pulp and waste, and this is showing that up until age 17 there is very little, in fact no value created from the high quality veneer, but as the stand gets older we get a large amount of value from the clearwood. We can also run multiple options in our stand. For example, we can pick another regime. That's a 22-year-old clear fall. Let's pick the 24-year-old regime. If we change the note here so that it says 24 and now run, we get some different results. And if we click on the session button, that will show us the results for each of these runs. And by putting something in the comment, we can very quickly see how we are going with our internal rate of return and net present value. And by running a series of these, you can then right click and either export the data to Excel or reload the data so that now when we go back to this original form we have the data that created that output. This is a very powerful way of quickly doing a wide range of runs, getting the data and exporting it to Excel or keeping it a record for yourself. And you can use other data such as inventory plot data to use to drive the growth side of this tool. The Stand Manager tool brings together information from the log grade set, from the regime, and from productivity information from the inventory, along with an area estimate that you may have got from your survey tool. This is the last tool to be presented because it does draw heavily on the others, and again you are encouraged to look at the detailed workbook example that you can find in the help folder on the CD that you use to load the toolbox. I hope you enjoy using the toolbox. It is a very powerful tool. If you have suggestions for improvements, please contact the toolbox team, and information on how to do that is located in the workbook and also in the help about information and the on-screen help associated with the toolbox. To exit from the Stand Manager, click on the cross in the top right hand corner. You will be prompted to save data if you have changed anything, and that returns you to the Power Tools menu